Today I am going to show you how to turn a whip into a snuddy. I gotta show you what it looks like. Ta-da! And then you can pull the hood down. So all right, this is super easy and you're gonna love it. Basically all you do is you hold up your whip and you think, whip, could I wear you on my head? And if you can hold it back together like this, and it comes to about right here, like this, and then you have this down here. Like, how many of us have started baby blankets or lapgans or whatever, you know, something like that, and you're just done with it? That's what I'm doing here. All right, let's go. And, you know, for those of you who like measurements, want is your whip or whatever you're making to be 10.5. You can make it 10.5. I'd say anywhere between 10 and 11 inches wide. And then lengthwise, it will be, let's see, there's 10, 23, I'd say make it 33 inches long. So 10 by 33 or 11 by 33. And if you don't already have one of these, if you're one of those kind of magical people who never have things left over like this because you always finish everything, you can just start one. Use any stitch you want and make it 33 inches long and 10 or 11 inches wide. Then, okay, I've got a little bit of this whip left right here that I don't need. Okay, leaving this attached, we're just going to sew right up the side. And to make the seam a little, to make the seam a little less bulky, I just like to go, through those first 2 loops. You can sew it together any way you want to. I'm just showing you the way that I'm doing it. I don't really have a standard way that I put my seams together. It's just kind of what I'm feeling in the moment. But this one will work as well as any other. And you know what? Which side do I want to be the back and which side do I want to be the front? I think I want this side to be the back. So I'm going to sew all the way up this side. Now we're going to see how long we should make the clothes in the front, the part that goes around your neck. So just hold it up to your head and check it out this way. You can make it a little shorter than that, a little longer than that, just depending on how close you want it to be up next to your chin. So I'm going to measure this just so you know from now on how much space you want to have there. I have 6 inches, so that's a good place to start. Now we're going to sew that together. Make sure both seams are on the inside. So the purple seam is up the inside, and now this seam is going to be on the inside so that when you turn it out inside out, you won't be able to see the seam. Right now, instead of just starting a new thread to sew that seam together, I fortunately had the 2 skeins of yarn I was using to crochet this, what at the time was going to be a blanket, with my whip. So I am going to tie with a magic knot onto that very end thing right now. This is how much I do not like weaving in ends. So we're magic knotting both of the strands of yarn, both the 3-weight that I use. Both of these yarns are 3-weights. So here we go. Ta-da! Magic knot. And then I'm going to snip those 2 threads, and you will never be able to rip that knot apart. And I'm going to do the same with the white yarn. After tying up those magic knots, we are going to be sewing the neck. And if you remember, we measured out about 5 inches. So I'm going to do this with slip stitches with the crochet hook. I picked out the H crochet hook because that's the same size hook I used to crochet the baby blanket, or, you know, the whip, whatever it was going to be. Okay, here we go. So I'm just slip stitching up about 5.5 inches. That is what we measured out to be the neck size, or the length that we go up before we want it to be fitting around the face. And this is super easy. Just go up 5.5 inches, slip stitching on every stitch going up the neck. And it measured out to be right. We've got 5.5, yep, about 5.5 inches up. Next, we are going to crochet the border around the head, or around the front where the face is. And before we start crocheting the fur border on, we're going to make 1 round of single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, all the way around. And with each of those chain 2s, you're going to skip 2 stitches. So single crochet, chain 2, skip 2 stitches, single crochet, skip 2, chain 2, single crochet. Very easy. And those are going to make the holes that you will run your string through to kind of cinch your hoodie closed if you want to do that. Next, we're just going to weave in the ends, and this is super easy. Just thread your needle and weave in your ends however you usually weave in your ends. Okay, now since we have both of the seams sewn, we are going to flip this right side out so that we can start crocheting the round that goes around the face. And this is not going to be a closed round. It's going to start at the bottom where your chin is and go all the way around. So for this, I'm going to go look in my stash and find some white faux fur. This yarn is Loops and Threads Fur. You can use any kind or type of faux fur that you want. I just had this in my stash and I thought this would be perfect. Join the faux fur to your hoodie with a slip stitch right below the chin. And you can start on either side that's more comfortable. Now you're noticing I am crocheting the end underneath the stitches that I'm making, and that is to just hide that so I don't have to weave it in. It's already taken care of. The stitches that I'm making along the outside that is making the trim of the hoodie or the SCOODIE is, do you remember the spaces that we made with the chain 2 and then skip 2 stitches? Each one of those spaces will be crocheting into. And this is how you're going to do it. Single crochet into one space, then 2 single crochets into the next space. Single crochet 1 into the next space, single crochet 2 into the next space, and do that all the way around. Make sure that you're crocheting, you don't want to crochet tightly. The hook I used is a 7mm. It doesn't matter to me what size hook I use when I'm making trim, just because if it doesn't look right, I will undo it and try maybe a bigger or a smaller hook. This is kind of one of those things where you use what feels right for you while you're crocheting around. If you just want to go by what I went with, I'm using a 7mm hook. So we're almost all the way around. And like I said before, this isn't going to be joined. This is going to be, we're just going to chain 1 when we get to the end of this round / row. I guess I would call it a row. So chain 1, turn your hat, and on the other side, you will just single crochet into every stitch. And here we go. I'm ending right there on that last stitch. I'm just making a single crochet. Whoops, here we go. Single crochet, and don't attach it together. Chain 1, and then crochet the other way around. And this will be a single crochet in every single crochet that you made going around the first time. And now if we could all only crochet this fast, that would be amazing. Okay, here we go. Just two rounds, 2 rows for the trim on your snuddy or hoodie or snuddy or whatever you call it. Your cute little fluffy hat. Now, just going to weave in the end of that faux fur. You remember we only have one end to weave in because I was carrying the first end under my stitches. And this yarn, this faux fur yarn, is kind of nice because you don't see, it's really hard to tell when you weave in the ends because the fur just kind of makes it all blend together. And once again, wouldn't we love to be able to weave in ends that quickly? Okay, so now we are making the tie. And I am going to chain my 2 yarns together. I'm using the same strands of yarn that I used to make my whip. But if you have a whip that doesn't have the types of yarn that you used, then just get yarns that match as closely as possible or that would look good as the tie in your snuddy. The idea for this tie is that you chain half the way down, and then you slip stitch back down that chain, and then when you get to the end, you don't cut it off. You chain another length, exactly the same length, or maybe if you miscalculated and made it a little too short before, you can chain some more stitches to make it be the length that you want it to be. And when you get it to the length you want it to be, then you slip stitch back down that chain, and you cut your yarn and you tie those 2 ends together, and then you weave in the ends into the chain. And that makes it to where there's not yarn hanging off either end of your tie. All right, now we are going to run the tie through the little holes or the spaces that we made with our single crochet 2, skip 2, single crochet, single crochet 2, skip 2, single crochet. And this is so much fun because we are almost ready to try it on. Okay, and you just weave it through, under, over, under, over, under, over, through the spaces. All that is left to do now is to try it on. Are you ready? Ta-da! Okay, there we've got that. Let's see what it looks like from that side. I feel like an Eskimo on that side. And then we can pull the hood down like that. Or we can tie it up like this. you know, if it's really cold outside, and do this. Voila! And when it's tied together like that, it pulls around your neck. So anyway, there we go. A snooty out of a whip. From that to this.